adventurers, welcome to the first in-depth installment of Eberron Historian. Today we take to the high seas of Eastern Corvair, to the Lhazaar Principalities, a land of pirate lords, merchant princes, and privateers. The Lhazaar Principalities stretch east from the edges of the Hoarfrost Mountains to Corvair's eastern coastline, encompassing the long chain of islands stretching the entire eastern length of the continent. Its climate can range from the bitter cold of the Northern Isles, where the sun rarely touches, to the humid jungles of the Southern Islands off the coast of Kubara. Adventures in the Lhazaar Principalities could come in many flavors. Great monsters such as sea serpents and krakens stalk the open water. Ghost ships are rumored to haunt the northern seas. Deep intrigue abounds the settlements as sea princes each vie for power, and ancient ruins full of treasure await to be plundered. The Lhazaar Principalities were first founded approximately 3,000 years ago by a Sarlonan settler named Lazar. It is unknown why Lazar and her crew left Sarlona, but the most commonly held theory is that they were criminals or outcasts fleeing from persecution. Around the same time Lazar arrived, other forces were establishing themselves among the eastern islands. Gnomish explorers from southern Corvair laid claim to the southern island of Lhazaar. Elvish refugees fleeing the Achaidh civil war went far north and settled on the frozen island of Falnan, and the port cities of Tantamar and Cliffscrape were settled by orcs and dwarves from the Ironroot Mountains. Further human expeditions came in dozens as the Sarlonan nation of Redra continued to destroy other empires, driving more refugees to other lands. In the centuries to follow, these island communities would come together, blending their cultures and traditions. Despite the fact that the principalities were settled by so many different cultures, Lazar is recognized as the founder, as it was her influence that established some semblance of law and honor among thieves. She brought fleets together and led the first raids on the southern settlements of Corvair, and fought against the remnants of the now defunct Dakani navy. Lazar established a hierarchy of rule among the principalities, appointing her best captains as Praeles, the region word for prince, and declared herself the prince among princes. What few laws that were put into place in that early period still stand until this day as the pillars of society in the principalities. The title of prince is not hereditary, and the Lhazaar noble only retains their power through the size of their fleet and the respect that they command among their peers. A prince with a larger fleet and following is well within his rights to make a claim on another's territory, and will take it by force if necessary. The form that this challenge takes can depend on the principality of the Belligerents. The elves of the Northern Isles may favour a competition of arcane ability rather than outright violence, whilst the gnomes will test their wits against each other in games of strategy. Through the ages, the most powerful prince with the largest fleet among the principalities would declare themselves the High Prince, demanding the respect of all other princes, but this by no means makes the High Prince the ruler of the region. Although the High Prince can still make requests of other princes, any demands they make can still be refused. Prior to the unity of Corvair 1,000 years ago, the northern and southern coastlines of the continent were subject to frequent raids, and were at the mercy of the principalities' many raider fleets. This came to an end when Galifar Wanan set out on his crusade to unite Corvair, and the Principalities' fleets went head-to-head with Galifar's navy. It became a war of attrition, with heavy losses and expenditure on both sides, but eventually, Galifar secured enough key victories, and the Sea Princes bent the knee. Despite the surrender, Galifar mostly left the Principalities to their own devices, provided they left the Corvair coastline alone. Throughout the reign of Galifar's bloodline, the Sea Princes instead found prosperity in using their ships for mercantile endeavours and privateering for the Five Nations. That is, until the beginning of the Last War. Once the kingdom of Galifar shattered and the Five Nations erupted in conflict, the princes were quick to return to their old ways, resuming piracy on the coastlines of the weakened and distracted Five Nations. Some of the more enterprising princes even seized the opportunity for extra coin and hired their privateer fleets out to the warring kingdoms of Galifar. In the year 983 YK, at the height of the last war, the High Prince Ryga Irwanan came to power, Rhaegar commanded the respect of most of the Sea Princes, and much like his ancestor Galifar, he had a vision of the Principalities united. It was Rhaegar that represented the Lhazaar Principalities at the Treaty of Thronehold, and secured their sovereignty as a nation of their own, recognized by the rest of Khorvaire, even if only in title. Despite his vision, there are still those among the Principalities that oppose him, and time will tell if he will manage to establish himself as the true Lord of the Seas. The denizens of the Principalities have a strong connection to the sea, with the vast majority of their towns and cities located on the coastlines. Much of the interior of the islands even remains unexplored, as being away from the ocean is often uncomfortable for a Lhazaarite. Animal husbandry is uncommon, and a typical diet consists mostly of the bounty of the sea and other salty foods, with very little red meat. Lhazaarites have also perfected a method of fermenting seaweed to create a strong alcoholic beverage they call Solasta. The Principalities have one of the most diverse populations in all of Khorvaire, and as such, it is easy for a member of almost any race to find a home here. Aspects from different cultures have been adopted by others, and most people will be comfortable around any other race. People are fiercely loyal to others of the same principality, and although principalities may oppose each other, they would just as soon unite against an external threat. A handful of principalities worship the blood of Vol, a religion saturated in necromancy that was introduced to Khorvaire by the elves, which observes the divinity of one's own self rather than a higher power. Other Lhazaarites have little patience for religion. The followers of the sovereign host are few, although the Dark Six may be observed, particularly the Devourer, for his domain over the weather. The Lhazaar Principalities are a realm of nautical high adventure, with more locations than I could cover in one video. But here are some of my favourite points of interest and places for adventure hooks. The island of Green Tarn plays home to the city of Regal Port, also known as the Jewel of the Lhazaar Sea. Regal Port is the largest and most prosperous city in the Lhazaar Principalities, serving as the centre of power from which Rhaegar Irwenan commands his fleet of 20 ships, known as the Sea Dragons. Regal Port also serves as the headquarters of House Thorani, the dragon-marked House of Shadows. Houses Galanda, Kundarak, and Orion also have a presence in the city. On an island off the tip of Cape Far lies the prison fortress of Dreadhold. The Dreadhold was built around 3,000 years ago at the behest of Khan the Conqueror to hold high-profile prisoners such as deposed rulers and disgraced nobles. Once Galifar Wenan came to power and pacified the Principalities, the prison was repurposed to hold Khorvaire's worst criminals and anyone too dangerous to be free but too valuable to execute. The Dreadhold is a House Kundarak stronghold, made secure by the dwarves possessing the dragon mark of warding, and is said to hold great treasures in its depths, as well as prisoners. Many Lhazaarites will tell the story of the island of Trebaz Senara. Said to have been the home of Lhazaar herself, the island is surrounded by impenetrable reef and inhabited by all manner of monsters, guarding a vast fortune of treasure stashed there by Lhazaar and generations of her legendary pirates. The last account of someone supposedly finding the treasure vault was over 500 years ago, and ever since, some sailors have spent their entire life searching for it. Rumour has it that Rhaegar Irwenan possesses a map that reveals its location. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments what aspects of Eberron you would like to see featured in future videos. And shout out to my patrons Don, Mick and Justin. Thank you so much for your patronage. If you would like to support the production of future Eberron Historian videos, and while you're at it, pick up some detailed battle maps and music published by me monthly, please swing by my Patreon, link in the description below. I also live stream my D&D sessions on my Twitch channel, link below, and you can also join the Tales of Pesh Discord community and jump into the discussion of all things Eberron and D&D related. That is all for now. Happy rolling, guys. I will see you next time.